morning. Great to see you, and thank you very much for having me. I'm JP Campbell. I'm from Edinburgh, near Edinburgh, where I live with my wife and my baby girl. So I had to say hello to them because they're watching live. So I have to get that out of the way. But we've got a big idea to change the way we eat, to really tackle child hunger, and to bridge the gap between business and charity. So the idea is simple. It's one feeds two. So we're asking food companies to take our logo and put it on their packs and on their menu items. And every time they sell that product, they provide a school meal to a child in poverty. Simple. So 4 minutes isn't very long, so I'm going to try and take you through the innovation, the impact, where we're going, and why we'd love to win. Join our core. So start with the innovation. I'm sure you've all heard of one-for-one businesses before. Tom's Shoes being probably the most famous example. And 3 years ago, I started my own one-for-one business in a soup van in Edinburgh. So I taught myself how to cook. I left my job as a corporate lawyer and threw myself into this idea of sharing a school meal with a child in poverty every time we sell a meal. And it went really well. People really got behind what we were doing. And after 8 months, we'd sold 15,000 meals. Went out to Kenya and saw the impact of what we were doing. And that was where the innovation really took place, because the idea was really powerful, but it needed to scale massively. And we were just touching the surface. So I came back and we put the model into a charity. And we're now asking all food businesses to get behind this idea, and really so that all businesses can now become social enterprises and embed that generosity into their business models. We also looked at the charitable sector, and it really needed reinvented because it wasn't working in the consumer space and it wasn't working for food businesses. Their messaging was a bit tired, and it wasn't positive enough for the menu space or when you're eating dinner. So we went about reinventing the way charities talk, the tone of voice, and the branding, and we had a really great agency help us do that. So that's where the innovation really comes about. Now the impact. The world's poorest kids basically can't get to school because of the need to eat. And providing a school meal really brings them into education and allows them to develop themselves. And there's loads of impact in that. There's the nutritional benefit of getting a meal every day, which can be a struggle for a lot of the poorest communities. There's the educational benefit in that you actually have a meal in your belly so you can concentrate and learn. And then there's the wider economical benefit. The programs that we fund and the programs we support try and use locally sourced food. And in that respect, you're supporting the local smallholder farmers and really benefiting the community as a whole and providing them with a really good customer. So where do we want to go, and why do we want to win? We launched in October, One Feeds Two Foundation, and with Elephant Juice, the business that I ran, we did 40,000 meals in 18 months. And by Christmas, we're going to have done over 400,000 meals, and it really is just the beginning. Winning this competition is a massive opportunity to give us the platform to really for people to learn about the idea and to grab it. And the numbers are compelling. There's 376 million of us eating every day in the UK and the US alone, and there's 66 million kids going to school hungry every day, every school day, and another 61 million kids who miss out on school because of poverty and hunger. When you put it in that kind of context, this is actually a really solvable problem if the food industry grab this idea and get behind it. So we would love the support of Ashoka, Ben & Jerry's, Unilever to really get behind the idea and support it and really shout and talk about it.
Thank you, JP.
Thank you.
We're going to start off with Sophie as the hometown judge.
Cool. Can I hand these out just quickly?
Sure.
Because these show exactly what we're talking about. So this is our brand in action, so to speak. So you see at Roller Wall as one of the businesses doing it, and there's a menuing from Cook in there, which shows how the thing works on menu items, and we've maybe had a wee bit of a play with a Ben & Jerry's pack as well for fun, but you can see that.
Sophie, first question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't actually get what a business is, so I don't really understand. So that if I was running a food business, I do,
Yeah.
and I put a logo on it that said 1 for 1, I don't understand what's happening behind it. So are you running a whole system which would audit all of that and check that I was doing what it was, and how do we work out the cost of a school meal, where, have a more direct relationship? And are you working with any NGOs?
So yeah, the mechanics basically. So we're a not-for-profit ourselves, and we have basically formed partnerships with some of the largest school feeding programs in the world. And what we do is we go out, we license the brand to you as a food business, and you pay a fixed fee per product sold. And from that fee, we use that to provide a school meal to a child in poverty through the NGOs. So we're essentially a grant-making body to the NGO who has the grassroots distribution. So what they really need, and the problem they have, is getting sustainable cash streams. And what traditionally they've struggled to do is form partnerships with food corporates, because their branding is tired and doesn't sit alongside the food corporate's branding. So, and we also take a very small fee from the fixed fee that we charge you to cover our admin costs, which are very lean.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Follow up.
Is that because I run a chocolate company?
Yes. Yeah.
And we're very interested in, as is Ben & Jerry, the supply chains.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you put this mark on your product and it doesn't matter what the product is, I'm interested in, do you care what the product is in the first place?
Yeah. We think all food businesses can make a social impact, and supply chain is incredibly important. What we've got is an easy to adopt social good, and it's embedding that generosity. So route to market wise, strategy wise, we care which brands we partner with to begin with. Of course we do. We want businesses to be sincere about this and to do it properly. But we believe this is an idea that all food companies can get behind at various points in the value chain. So yeah, it's really making that impact accessible to all food companies, so that we can actually really solve this problem. So that's what we're about.
Emily?
What food partners are you talking to, or are you close to doing bigger deals than Cook?
Yeah, so we've got an exciting pipeline. We've got about 20 businesses that we're in discussion with, from a supermarket through to just a single restaurant. We've got a couple of big restaurant chains in the UK that we're speaking to at the moment. And yeah, it's really about getting the big businesses and the small businesses behind us, and really getting a movement. We call ourselves the movement for happier meals. So just trying to get as many businesses engaged and taking on the concept as best they can.
Paul?
Are all of the food companies who are signing up paying the same fee per meal? And then when you transfer it to the NGOs, are they all receiving the same amount per meal? Or differential pricing?
So the pricing is difficult, as you'll understand from the climate, in that the cost per meal differs in the country that you feed. So we have 3 programs that we fund, and the price point varies from 5p to 21p. And it's really for the business to decide where they want to make impact, which countries they want to run their feeding programs, and we have that flexibility to support a number of charities who are running really good programs on the ground. Does that?
And then the charities, the NGOs are audited on their delivery?
Yeah. So we provide that function. We sit there and scrutinise exactly what the charities on the ground are doing, so that the businesses don't have to do that. It's a real plug and play for them. We provide that service and take that stress and pressure out of doing good away from them, because that's not their core business. They don't understand the sector, they don't understand the needs of the developing world and really how these programs work. So we sit there in the middle and make sure it works. That makes sense?
Andre, you have a question?
Yes, I'm Andrea from Copenhagen,
Hi.
Denmark. Hi. I was just curious. I don't really understand who is paying the school food. The
So-
school meal, who's paying that one?
It's the food company. So it comes from the price. You buy, all the customer does is they go in and they buy a meal. And the food company from their margin.
The consumer in the end.
Yeah, so the consumer goes in, buys a meal that's one feeds two, and a school meal is provided. It's cause and effect. And the cost of that meal comes out of the margin the food company has.
Okay.
So they can choose to they can increase their price point by the cost of the delivery, or they can take it out of their margin.
Okay.
So
And
it's
how
really simple. They know the impact. As a customer, you go in and you know that me eating this meal will provide a school meal to a child in poverty.
Is it a problem for you that the NGOs you're working with, they also take little money so they can work? Because you say a school fee is 20p or
Yeah.
maybe less, but they as well maybe has administration costs.
That's not a problem. It's realistic. They need to operate, and providing a meal. The cost of providing a meal is not just the cost of the food; it's the cost of the complete delivery. You know, when you go to McDonald's, you don't just pay for the burger; you pay for the lighting, the electricity, the management fees. You know, all these things are included in the price, and it's the same. It's the same in this respect. So it's no problem for us. They need to operate, and they need to be scrutinised and held to account. But they also need to run their programs successfully.
And it can sound a bit rude, but how do you secure that the right and the hungry kids get the meal and not some other?
Yeah, so the meals are distributed in schools, and the schools are in the world's poorest communities, where children are living on less than households are living on less than $1 a day. They're in the most vulnerable communities, and they don't get to school because of hunger or the need to eat. They usually have to go out and work or scavenge for food. So putting the meal into the school and distributing it that way means the kids actually get to school and get educated.
And how many schools do you support?
So at the moment we're working with 3 charities. One of them feeds 20 million kids every school day. One of them feeds 800,000 kids every school day, and the other feeds 1 million. So yeah, it's thousands of schools. But you know, we're a very small provider at the moment in terms of funds. But if this idea really takes off, if businesses really get behind it, we can provide them with some really sustainable cash streams.
My question.
Go ahead, then Martina, you're waiting, sorry.
Sorry.
Right, Martina gets first, then Benjamin.
Thank you. My question is, what is your long-term vision about your project? I mean, do you want that those streams of cash going to the kids at school, is that a long-term sustainable vision, or do you hope that actually poverty will be diluted at one point and that does not need to be here anymore?
Yeah, good question. So my long-term vision is that no child goes hungry, and that they can all get to school and get provided with a school meal, a free school meal in the world's poorest communities, so they can educate themselves and work themselves out of poverty. So it's about empowerment rather than aid. You know, it's about children getting educated and bettering their own futures and bettering their own economies and countries.
But you assume that those streams will continue, so that
So,
every point in
yeah,
the future,
yeah.
those money will flow there.
So we're talking about exit strategy. Basically, the programs we work with, their exit strategy is always for governments to take over this infrastructure. So you're working in communities where there isn't free school meals because the government don't provide them. And what they do is they go in, they provide this infrastructure, they prove how valuable it is. You get for every $1 spent on addressing hunger, you get at least a $3 return in the economy. So you go in, you prove to the government, this is worthwhile doing, feed your kids in school so they get educated, and eventually the hope is that the governments take over the programs and run them themselves. Like in the UK, where we've got a state who are competent enough to provide school meals. So many countries don't have that, and it's about getting that infrastructure in place.
We're out of time, so we need to say thank you to JP.
Thank you so much.
And JP, stay there. We're going to get a photo with Sophie.